Welcome to Santa Ana, the second largest city in El Salvador, nestled just 40 miles northwest of the capital. Today, we're exploring one of the country's most authentic destinations, a place where elegant architecture, rich history, and enduring legend converge. Before we begin, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to some truly extraordinary supporters. Carol, Lauda, Terry, Karen, Bree, Victor, SG, Chips Ahoy, and Will. Your generosity, encouragement, and unwavering support of this channel make these journeys possible, and I'm sincerely grateful to have you along for the adventure. Last week's top comment goes to Fabricio. It brings me such joy to know that the video rekindled memories of your homeland. El Salvador is a country of remarkable beauty, rich history, and resilient people. There is so much to cherish and be proud of. To all who continue to share your thoughts, thank you. I read every comment, and they mean more than you know. Please keep them coming. I've started a channel membership. If you're interested, click subscribe and then join for more details. My host was kind enough to let me check in early, so welcome to my home for the next few days. It's a cute little end unit. You enter first through a carport with a garage door, which is perfect because now my rental car gets a vacation as well. Inside is a cozy living room with comfortable sofas and a TV. I assume it works, but if I'm watching TV on vacation, something has gone terribly wrong. Next is a full kitchen with a refrigerator, stove, and a microwave. In theory, I could cook. In reality, restaurants and I have a much stronger relationship. There's one bathroom. The hot watcher and I had a brief but meaningful entanglement. It lasted about as long as a free trial. There are 3 bedrooms. The whole place is clean, nicely decorated, and every room has air conditioning, which is worth its weight in gold in Santa Ana. Out back is a small courtyard with seating, a grill, and a washing machine, because eventually, even travelers have to admit they're out of clean clothes. Overall, it's been an excellent stay with a responsive host. If you'd like to check it out for yourself, there's a link in the description.
Good morning. It is an absolutely gorgeous day. I am departing my apartment, house, residence, domicile, whatever it is, and heading into town.
It's a sure thing, we know what is missing. Close our eyes, but we know it's ending. Violation of what can be broken, but it's done now and we can't step back. No more spark, it's just cold and dark, burning out like stars shine in the sky. No more spark, but a solid mark that our time is running out. End it like we start, explosively walk
I would love it if just once I could go somewhere in El Salvador and it wasn't under construction. But at any rate, this is Plaza Libertad, the beating heart of Santa Ana. It's a central square where the city's public life unfolds.
Encircled by some of Santa Ana's most distinguished landmarks, the elegant mint green National Theater, the similarly colored and equally striking City Library, the ochre yellow City Hall, and the magnificent Gothic Cathedral of Santa Ana, Parque Libertad has long served as the city's civic and cultural heart. In earlier centuries, this square was Santa Ana's principal marketplace, alive with the constant rhythm of commerce, conversation, and daily life. It also witnessed political assemblies, joyful public celebrations, and, in darker moments, public executions. It was a place where triumph and tragedy unfolded side by side, reflecting the full spectrum of the city's history. The market remained here until 1890, when the opening of the Central Market shifted Santa Ana's commercial life to a new location. Yet, Parque Libertad never lost its significance. Today, it endures as one of the city's most cherished historic spaces, a place where magnificent architecture frames centuries of memory, where echoes of the past linger beneath the shade of its trees, and where the enduring spirit of Santa Ana continues to bring its people together.
Keep it in here and lock it. Keep it in here, don't knock it. Before you try being on your own side for once. For once.
Soy vegana. Okay, so ¿es posible patatas sin tocino?
Sí.
¿Sí?
¿Queso está bien?
No queso. Solamente patatas. Sí.
¿Está bien para
Bien,
usted?
gracias.
¿O
Bien,
como-
perfecto.
¿Así está bien?
Sí, perfecto.
¿Solo eso?
Sí. También
¿Vegetariana?
vegetariana o fungi, pero sin queso. ¿Es posible?
Sí.
Sí.
¿Vegetariana?
Sí.
¿Personal?
Sí. Personal, yes. No, like margarita or piña colada.
Cream
Ah,
pineapple
okay.
with rum.
Okay.
Would you like?
Sí.
Is that okay?
Perfecto. Yes. Yes. Yay.
¿Es todo?
Yes. Gracias.
Un placer. ¿Ve? Español. Bien.
It's so bad, but thank you. Gracias.
Un placer.
Okay, so the waiter just asked me if I like spicy. Like, there's a chance I don't like spicy, so let's see what this is about. Okay, so it's the moment of truth. I'm giving it a second to see if it kicks in later. This is so not spicy, it's laughable. Like at some point I have to wonder, like, is it the food or is it me? I don't know. Nothing spicy. Like when somebody asks, how spicy do you want it? I say Dracarys. I've tried to move a little bit so that you can actually see me. I specifically chose this restaurant because I wanted to tell a story and the music is kind of loud. I hope that my voice is going to come through, but this is just such an amazing view. Like, what a primo spot. You can't beat this with a stick.
As always, thank you to Timeless Stories of El Salvador for the inspiration. The roots of Santa Ana trace back to the grandeur of the classic Mayan period, when the civilization flourished. Yet, like many great centers of the Mayan world, it mysteriously fell into decline as that era drew to a close. Centuries later, around 1200 CE, the Pipil people swept into the region, establishing their dominance and shaping the land anew. They remained the stewards of this place until the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century.
Of course, it was not called Santa Ana then. Such names would come later with conquest, colonization, and just a touch of celestial wisdom.
The year was 1533, and the sun scorched the lands of the Pipil, whose villages dotted the rolling hills of what would one day be called El Salvador. The Spanish conquest had swept through the region like a summer storm, sudden, unrelenting, and forever altering the landscape of life. The conquistadors, armed with steel, horses, and holy conviction, had claimed the territory and begun baptizing the indigenous people by the hundreds. Some conversions were forced, others born of fear, and still others out of hope that peace might yet grow in the ruins of war.
Among the newly baptized were a group of people, P-I-P-I-L, men and women, who had been entrusted with a sacred task.
They were to carry a statue of Santa Ana with her daughter, the Virgin Mary, to a new church being built near modern-day Guatemala. The statue was magnificent, carved from cedar wood, adorned with gilded robes, and larger than any figure the villagers had ever seen. It stood nearly the height of a man and weighed as much as 2 oxen. Its solemn face and outstretched arm seemed to gaze into the souls of those around it. It was, in the eyes of the missionaries, a beacon of hope and sanctity for a new Christian land. The priests, who had arranged the transport, would follow on horseback and arrive several days later to consecrate both the church and the holy effigy.
But, as every woman knows, beauty has its burdens.
The Pipil porters, devout and determined, lifted the statue onto the heavy wooden platform and began their journey. The path wound through forests and mountains, and though the rains had passed, the earth was soft and reluctant to let travelers pass. Step by aching step, the group trudged forward, whispering prayers in broken Spanish and Nahuatl, each utterance a plea for strength.
By dusk of the second day, they reached a village in a gentle clearing.
They were only halfway to their destination, yet exhaustion gripped their limbs like chains. With trembling hands and aching backs, they lowered the statue to the ground. It landed with a dull thud, and one of the men wept quietly, not from pain, but from the sacred responsibility he feared he could no longer carry. An old Pipil woman emerged from the shadows, an elder of the spirit ways, untouched by the new faith. Her hair, long and silver as starlight, was braided with beads that whispered of forgotten seasons. Deep lines etched her face, each one a story carried through time. She was known among her people as a spirit guide, a keeper of memory. With gentle authority, she told the villagers to tend to the weary travelers. Fires were lit. Warm food was shared. Shelter was given without question. One pilgrim, moved by her presence, asked, "Tell us your name, that we may give thanks to God for you." She smiled, her eyes like distant embers. "I am Kokoloti," she said, "and my gods have already thanked me." The pilgrims ate, and then they rested. Above them, the stars shimmered like watchful eyes, silent and full of meaning. Come morning, after a humble breakfast of corn cakes and bean paste, they returned to the statue, hearts newly steeled. They bent their knees, gripped the platform, and heaved.
To everybody's surprise, the statue of St. Anne would not move.
Panic began to creep in, coiling slowly like smoke from the ashes of fire. They tried again. Nothing. They stripped the platform of its ropes, checked for stones or roots beneath it. Still, nothing. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed the statue, refusing to give it up. They called for help from nearby villagers. The statue refused all. Nothing, neither strength nor strategy, could budge it. One by one, their eyes turned downward, afraid to speak the defeat they were beginning to feel.
By noon, as the sun reached its apex and shadows vanished beneath their feet, the old people woman appeared.
She walked slowly, leaning on a carved stick, yet her gaze was unwavering. The crowd instinctively stepped aside as she came forward, the air shifting with her presence. She said nothing for a long moment, simply looking at the statue. The others, restless and weary, waited. Then, in a voice that seemed both fragile and eternal, spoke infinite wisdom.
She said, "She has chosen her place, and she will not go further."
The pilgrims stared. Some laughed nervously. Some exchanged uncertain glances. Others looked to the sky, knowing the gods of their ancestors still whispered to Kokoloti. 3 days passed. Life continued. Then the priests arrived, tired, dusty, and not expecting to find the statue in the middle of nowhere. When they heard what had happened, they too tried to move it. When they failed, the pilgrims told them of the old woman's words. The priests, though skeptical, were also practical men. The statue clearly would not move. The villagers were watching. The faithful needed a sign.
So, They gave the order. The church will be built right here. Actually, right there.
But before they began, one priest, older than the rest, lifted his hand and said, "Call for Kokoloti. If she speaks for this land, let her speak now." Word was sent, and not long after, she emerged once again, walking slowly, just as before. Her eyes, dark and deep as obsidian, met the priest's without fear. He asked, "Where is this place?" Then, with the voice of wind and stone, she answered.
She said, "This is Tehuantepec, a gift from our ancestors, a place of sacred maize, sacred trees, sacred river, and sacred fire. We honor those who came before us, and they say our home is now your home."
The priests looked to one another. None spoke. They understood. Her words rang out not as surrender, but as offering, a bridge between the old world and the new. In her voice was both memory and mercy. The name Tehuantepec hung in the air like smoke from sacred copal. And so, the church was raised not just on stone and labor, but on the quiet power of those words, Tehuantepec, which in Nahuatl means the place of spirit women. It took months. The terrain had to be leveled, stones brought from nearby hills. Laborers, Pipil and Spaniards alike, worked side by side, erecting walls of adobe and wood, until a simple but sturdy church rose from the ground like a miracle. On the day it was finished, as the final candles were being placed and incense began to burn, the pilgrims returned to the statue. One last time they lifted, and this time she moved.
Only a few steps farther, just enough to enter her new home.
There, within the nave, she was placed beneath an arch of carved wood and fresh flowers. Bells rang out across the valley, and people wept, some from joy, others from the knowledge their world was forever changed.
The church was consecrated the Cathedral of Santa Ana, and the colonial village that grew around it took the same name, Santa Ana.
What do you think this legend says about El Salvador? Let me know in the comments. While you're at it, please click the like button. It helps, more than you know. Facing Parque Libertad, the Cathedral of Santa Ana stands apart from every other historic building that surrounds the square. While much of El Salvador's architecture reflects the simplicity of Spanish colonial design, the cathedral is a striking expression of European Neo-Gothic architecture. Its creation followed the destruction of portions of the original colonial church by lightning during the 19th century, prompting the construction of an entirely new sanctuary worthy of the city's growing prominence. Built between 1906 and 1913, the cathedral is distinguished by its soaring bell towers, pointed arches, intricate stonework, and countless ornamental niches and recesses that evoke the grandeur of medieval Europe. Every facade reveals a wealth of architectural detail, inviting visitors to linger and admire its craftsmanship from every angle. As one of only a handful of Gothic-style cathedrals in Central America, the Cathedral of Santa Ana is a true architectural treasure. In recognition of its historical and cultural significance, it was declared a national monument in 1995 and remains one of El Salvador's most iconic and inspiring landmarks. Stepping inside the Cathedral of Santa Ana, the noise of the city fades almost instantly. The vast interior invites you to slow your pace and simply look upward. 3 soaring naves intersect to form the shape of a cross, drawing the eye toward a magnificent marble altar that anchors the sanctuary with quiet majesty. Sunlight streams through brilliant stained glass windows, filling the cathedral with an ever-changing tapestry of color. The soft hues dance across the slate and pink striped columns and graceful arches, creating an atmosphere that feels both expansive and deeply intimate. Along the walls, the silent effigies of saints seem to stand watch over generations of worshippers, while modest chandeliers provide a gentle reminder that this is, above all, a living church where faith continues to be practiced each day. Walking these aisles, it's difficult not to feel a profound sense of peace. The cathedral's beauty is not found in extravagance alone, but in the way every column, every beam of colored light, and every quiet corner draws your thoughts beyond yourself. Whether you come as a person of faith, a lover of history, or simply a curious traveler, this is a place that encourages reflection. It invites you to pause, breathe, and appreciate the extraordinary craftsmanship and devotion that have endured here for more than a century. I've visited this cathedral many times now, and each visit seems to reveal something I somehow overlooked before. Tucked into side chapels, resting quietly above altars, or watching over the faithful from secluded corners, I keep discovering new effigies of Saint Anne. It feels less like a coincidence and more like an invitation to slow down, to look more carefully, and to appreciate just how deeply her story is woven into the identity of this place.
I've been sitting here for so long that I feel like I've become the statue. This place is so beautiful and so peaceful. I really don't want to leave.
Eventually, though, even the most peaceful places ask us to continue our journey, as there are so many more stories to tell. As I leave the cathedral behind, I can't help but think about St. Anne's legendary journey. According to the story, she refused to be carried any farther because she had already found where she belonged. There's something beautiful about that idea, that sometimes the destination chooses us rather than the other way around. Whether the legend of Santa Ana happened exactly as it has been passed down for generations is almost beside the point. The story has endured because it expresses something deeper than history alone. It reminds us that places are shaped not only by the events that occur there, but also by the stories people choose to preserve, retell, and believe. Stay curious, be inspired, find freedom, wander elsewhere. I'll see you in the next one.
And if you fall down, I'll be there to catch you like a parachute.